At the conservatories, the guards started to become especially attentive when we were around, and we sensed that our possibilities were shrinking. We hadn't yet come close to pinching the Black Prince, and we concentrated all our energies on him. Among the Vieges, he was an especially slow grower, and it took months for him to make a little shoot. For several weeks he was behind glass in the special intensive nursery. Once my mother had an ankle in a brace and couldn't reach him. Every day I hounded her to go back to see if he was moved. For once, we had what the astronauts called a window of opportunity. But for 2 weeks the buses were on strike, the city was paralyzed, and we had to walk everywhere. Then I had bronchitis for a month, so for 6 weeks we never saw the Black Prince. We found an article on Viegener in one of the botanical journals and read with satisfaction that although they featured the rare Robert's Pink Majesty, they never mentioned the Black Prince. So rare was he. After all this, we finally spotted him growing robustly in an accessible fork of the bromelia tree. He was poised above a cloud of Spanish moss, below a handsome yellow orchid. My mother lifted me to smell the pallid flowers of the epidendrum just beside our prey. Communicating by glances, we realized there was only one way for me to attain my goal. I had to poke my face in the vicinity and take my chances. The Black Prince was waiting, looking for all like a spidery ruby with black spokes. My fingernails were useless, because I'd always bitten them into little stumps, so with some labor I broke the shoot with my teeth. After a nudge with my nose and tongue, I took the Black Prince into my mouth. The guard we called Spencer for hire walked past us, and my mother clasped her arms around me as though I were a child. In fact, I was so short that few people would have guessed that I was 12. I felt the prickly shoot pushing against my lips. The guard passed us again and returned toward the exit where he'd placed himself at the narrowing. He must have seen us. He was young, and he didn't care about the plants, but he must have been astonished at what we saw. The prince shifted inside my mouth, and I had to cough. My mother began to speak almost incoherently. She was so nervous. And I merely nodded my head and smiled as we squeezed past our strangely paralyzed guard. All that counted was that I had the prince inside me.
Yeah.